And there we go, I think. Hey, everybody in the chat, thanks for showing up. Give us a comment there if you can hear and see me all right. Looks like things are working okay. Gosh, I sound a bit loud, actually. Turn myself down a little. Hey, working good. Okay. Hey, everybody. Thanks for showing up. It's been so much longer than I realized it had been since I last did a live stream. It was like last year. I kept meaning to do one, and I just haven't had the time or energy, basically. I don't know, like maybe you guys know, maybe you don't, but I record a podcast usually on Saturdays, and it just leaves me pretty drained and without a lot of energy. But no podcast recording today, so I thought finally time, just before the birthday month ends, let's squeeze in a little live stream. 7-year anniversary this month of the basics. Crazy. Oh man, those people in there. Oh, the questions are already pouring in as well. Right, well, no big checklist of stuff to get through or anything today. If you've watched one of these live streams before, you'll know I'll be teasing. No, teasing's not the right word. I will be showing you what the next couple of videos are going to be about. A couple more sponsored ones following on from Minerva and Roadbuster. And I'll just be revealing those over the course of the stream. And that's about it. No other big announcements or anything to show off. So we're just going to chill out for an hour, throw me some questions, and we'll just have a chill chat. What do you say? Sound good? Yeah, all right. And I'd like to apologize in advance for any inadvertent gassiness on the stream tonight. I mistimed my dinner and have just eaten an entire pizza in about 15-20 minutes. So, sorry, I'm going to try and keep up with the chat, but I'm not good at it. But I just saw a comment there from Fan Wenzen saying my actual voice shocks him. Yes, shocks them, I should say. Yes, people often have that reaction whenever I don't do the scripted readout. The accent, I think, comes through a little clearer whenever I not that I have a particularly thick accent, but comes through a little clearer and unexpectedly whenever I'm just rambling on. I do have the super chat turned on. I was just about to check and make sure that I did, and I can see that I did, because there is one from Tony J, who asks, will I do the basics on Blentrons? You know, it's on the list. It would definitely be as part of a video about the Fusors. But that wouldn't be a very big subject, and so I thought like maybe like a video about transmetals and Fusors, and then the Blentrons would be part of that. The Blentrons, for those who don't know, are the Fusor toys as they were released in Japan and seen in Beast Wars Neo. But yeah, I have thought about it, but it wouldn't be a very big video. But it's in the back of my mind. It's on my list. Yeah. What toppings on the pizza? Chris Carter asks. I'm sad to say it was just a plain cheese. Nothing too interesting. Toa Brony asks, why no basics on the channel today? Because the series isn't weekly, as a rule. This year, and indeed much of last year, which is a good lead in actually, things have been working on a bi-weekly schedule, once every 2 weeks. And this year, last year, that was partly because I knew I wanted to do weekly videos in June to tie in with Rise of the Beasts, and I knew I would have weekly videos at the end of the year for Obscure Characters Month. And the bi-weekly schedule in between was just to make sure I had enough of a buffer to produce enough videos so that I could release those videos weekly. And I'll be perfectly honest, I wanted to get back off the bi-weekly schedule this year, but it just hasn't happened. I did get Chromia out. What did Chromia come? I can't remember what the video immediately before Chromia was, but there was only a week separating them anyway. And there were a couple of comments on the Chromia video going, whoa, it's only been a week. What's going on? I thought these were every 2 weeks. And yeah, they're not weekly. That much I can tell you. And I try never to let it go more than, 2 weeks without a video. I'd like to get off that bi-weekly schedule, but the timing's just not working out lately this year. Just can't seem to get on top of my schedule and get a nice buffer going, but I'm getting there now. So don't worry about Obscure Characters Month at the end of the year or anything. I don't think we'll have any trouble with that. Oh, Alabama Saxman says, I've been watching your videos... Oh God, Benjamin Button GIF. I've been watching your videos since I was 7, and I want to thank you for being a big part of my childhood and my love of Transformers. Wow, my goodness. 7? So, does that mean you're 14 now, or are you still younger than 14? Wow. I always say, anytime anybody says something like that to me, I'm always very flattered to know that I can be part of anybody's journey, their on-ramp into this. That's what the basics was always supposed to be about. It was always supposed to be about providing quick and simple, straightforward explanations to explain this complicated nonsense to new fans. Maybe not primarily, maybe originally I thought primarily, but I always say, on the inside, when you're making it, you never quite know if you're succeeding, if you're communicating the information as clearly as you could be. But anytime I get a comment like that, it lets me know that I must be doing something right, and that I'm glad it continues to land with people who are really just entering into this big, silly arena. Also, that is... YouTube is telling me, Alabama Saxman's 20th Super on a live stream. So congratulations to them. Little flashing 20 there. Okay, now let me see here. Live chat. There we go. I think I had the chat set wrong. And there's a question from Autobot Reviews. Have you thought about doing YouTube shorts for obscure characters that have very little appearances? Feels like a lot of folk are getting into shorts lately, huh? Fuse started trying out shorts. Gav's got shorts going on. And yeah, I've thought about it. But I don't think I can do them. I feel like my method of delivering information is like, to get it into 1 minute, to be a short... I think they had to have one toy and no roles in media, and that's basically one toy, a personality, and no roles in media. I think is about what it would take for me to get a short out of a character. But that's why it hasn't. I kind of want to experiment with it a bit, but I can't find anything that would work that way. I don't think it maps onto my format well. Suited Collectibles asks, can I do a basics on BotCon? Again, on the list, definitely. I think we're getting to a point with I was writing a script the other week, and I was talking about BotCon, I got my little stock stable of phrases: Monster Planet, Unicron, the Japanese toy line, Diaclone, the Destroyed by a Cosmically Powered Starscream. The official convention BotCon, I think, is one of those stock phrases. And, of course, it isn't anymore. That's the thing. It's not the official convention anymore. And I was thinking, like, I don't want to be guilty of propagating that misconception beyond a certain point. And yeah, I do think a video about BotCon will happen probably sooner rather than later. But there are some, there's some dodgy waters you got to wade in there to talk about the full impact and, all warts, sort of warts and all look at BotCon and the things that worked and things that didn't work. But I could definitely see myself doing a BotCon video, yeah. The Brain Sturgeon asks, do you like Lego Transformers? YouTubers like Student Scissors and Starscreamer who make their own original characters and builds. I like a bit of Lego. I'm not an adult fan of Lego, as it were. I have a couple of Lego sets. I have the Lego Optimus Prime set. But I'm not a big I'm not a big Lego guy, so I wouldn't usually watch videos about original Lego builds or anything. So I'm afraid I don't know those YouTubers. I'm afraid, but like I don't plan to get the Bumblebee, or the Lego Bumblebee. There's something about that one. I just liked it whenever it was one special, unique set, just an Optimus Prime. That was it. One special thing for a special occasion, and then now there's another one, and now it's just become a set of stuff that will never be complete. It's the same way I feel about Missing Link, you know? I liked it when it was one unique, special toy, just an Optimus Prime, and now there's a Bumblebee and a Cliff Jumper, and no doubt there'll be more, and it's just turned into the next masterpiece, you know. It's does a lot to smother my interest and that sort of thing, unfortunately. But I did like the Lego Optimus Prime. And there's a message from Cody Lane, who created my my avatar, my little. Can you? Yeah, you can. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see. Yeah, there it is, up in the corner. I was looking all around the screen to see. Is it somewhere? Is it anywhere? Yes, of course it is. Do I need an updated one? Maybe I can give you some ideas for what I want. You know, I'm not looking for an updated one right now, Cody. But certainly you'll be the first chap that I come to, if and when I do. Yeah. So thank you very much for creating it in the first place. Cody created this avatar of me for Cian Carlisle's Combaticons fan-made animated pilot, and Cian got me in to do the voice for that, and I really liked the drawing, and I paid Cody for it so I could use it as my avatar. People may not remember my original avatar, which was a little CGI jelly bean guy who is the spitting image of me, and people would always be surprised when I said that, no, that's not me, that's from an old British advert for Now TV. And I saw the advert, gosh, must be nearly 15 years ago now, 10-15 years ago at least, and I just decided to start using it as an avatar, and I thought, you know, I've been doing YouTube for enough years now that maybe I shouldn't just be using a random screen cap of a commercial as my avatar. Probably be a good idea to have a bespoke one. So when I saw Cody create this one of me, I thought, oh, this is the one. This is what we got to go for. I got to buy this. Let's see. Diego Roa asks, am I up to doing the basics on Metroplex? He's a big one, isn't he? Kind of weird I haven't done him yet, right? I don't know reason that I haven't done him, just haven't got around to it yet. I think he'll, I'm not making any promises, but I feel like he'll probably happen next year. Probably. We'll see. Let's see what the Titan is for next year's toy line before we go making any definitive statements. Not that that sounded a bit cryptic. Not that I have any inside information or anything like that. It's just I feel like the Titan class is running out of viable characters, and it seems like, just based on the current team's interests and what the figures they design, it feels like a redesigned, much more G1 styled Titan Metroplex is it can't be too unlikely, can it? So maybe we'll see. Of course, Jolene Blake notes in the chat, bold to assume we'll get a Titan next year. And yeah, I do feel like Titan class can't be too long for this world, to be honest. Fellmaster asks, I owe a lot, or says, not more of a comment than a question, I owe a lot of my Transformers lore knowledge to you. You're amazing. Oh, that's very kind of you. And with G.I. Joe appearing at the end of Rise of the Beasts, what would you think of a Skywarp arc in it? I only learned of it from you. Oh, I enjoyed Sitterson's G.I. Joe and Skywarp's role in it, but I feel like that is not an idea that really penetrated the wider consciousness enough to make the jump into a film. But you never know, sometimes these films do pull from weird places. That is, let's be very honest, that is assuming that film even happens, though, because, you know, the last decade's worth of live-action Transformer films all started out as one idea before being heavily rewritten or mashed up with a bunch of other separately created ideas before they became the films that were released. So even though they've said from very early on, oh, we're doing a G.I. Joe crossover this time, I'm like, but are you? Are you really doing it? So we'll see. CD Freedom asks if there's any chance I'll update the 13 Primes video with next year's Generations line. Yeah, you know, I've been thinking for a while the Primes video is one that could stand an upgrade, but then once the information about next year's Generations line leaked out, any plans I had for doing any Prime stuff, like any videos about individual Primes, I had at least, I think I had Nexus Prime on the schedule for this year at one point, but then that leaked, and I was like, oh, right, off he comes, we'll wait till next year, we'll wait to see what they do. Not that Nexus Prime is officially on the list for next year. I think he might be on the list maybe for the, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him maybe the year after, but we'll see. It's just kind of, it's all about trying to sort of keep a balance between trying not to do stuff that will then be immediately invalidated like a couple of months later, trying to keep on top of the news cycle enough that you know what's coming, that you won't immediately have your video outdated. I'm okay with like a year maybe before a video becomes outdated, but it was deeply annoying like last year when I did Nova Prime in the spring, and then like, was it like a month later they announced they were doing a figure of Nova Prime. Oh, that grinds my, Madhouse Studios asks if I'd be up to doing a third-party video. It's not really my scene. It's the thing I always say. The stuff that in my videos is based on my personal first-hand experience of that. You know, I read the stories, I watch the cartoons. I own not all of the toys, but you know, I own a lot of toys. And third-party, I've just never done third-party. So I couldn't do any kind of like efficient, authentic overview of it. I've never really considered it. I guess it's not outside the scope of the series, but it's not something I've ever really thought about doing, you know. I'm seeing my little buffering circle appear a couple of times on my window here. Am I coming through, guys? There's any lag or any juddering or anything on you guys' end? I can't tell. Let me know. Not that I know if there's anything I can do anything about it, but well. Jolene asks, speaking of videos that were outdated shortly after they came out, any chance of an updated GoBots video? I don't think there's been enough GoBots stuff to update it with. We had the Scioli miniseries, and we've just had the Legacy figures, but I don't think I would redo the whole video just for that, you know. But maybe sometime in the future, you never know. No, everybody says it's, well, most people are saying it's coming through okay anyway. Kyle Bishop Tull says, love your channel and content. Keep up the great work. Appreciate you. Kyle, gosh, you're all being very kind this evening. Thanks very much, and thanks for all showing up and just hanging out. Thanks, guys. I'm glad you're enjoying. It's just thanks for the nice words, honestly. As I say, I just can't seem to get on top of my schedule and my buffer this year. And it can be a bit defeating sometimes when you just, when I've got into a very bad rut the last little while of staying up late and working on videos, just silly late, you know, when I should really stop. 12-hour days just staring at a computer screen. I'm like, it's doing my nut in, honestly. But it's nice to know that it's worth it. Thanks, guys. The Researcher asks, how did I meet the Transformers franchise? I can't, I don't remember there's no clear answer. I don't remember. I can tell you, I remember what my first toy was. Well, I don't remember I remember what my first two toys were. My first two toys were G1 Starscream and G1 Snarl, but I don't remember which was which. One was for my birthday and one was for Christmas. I don't remember which was which. They were in the same year, so I guess that's 96, when I was 4. But I think that I knew what the cartoon was. and I know that my first issue of the Marvel comic book was the Marvel UK comic, that is. It was either it was issue 96, 97, I can never remember which. It's the second part of the story, Prey, where Optimus Prime is hunted by the Predacons. That was in early 1987. And I know that I knew what the cartoon was and what Transformers were. Well, obviously, because I'd got Starscream and Snarl the previous year, but I know that I knew what the cartoon was and who all the characters were when I got that comic. So I think it was probably a video out of the video shop, from the video rental place. But it's so long ago. It has always been with me, Dark Knight 329 asks, what's one franchise you'd want to see crossover with Transformers? I'm not a huge crossover guy, honestly, when it comes to something like the Collaborative toy line, I thought Collaborative had really run out of steam the last year or so, doing things like Tonkanator, just Hasbro crossing over with itself, Tonkanator and the G.I. Joe figures and everything. But I think it's really got the juice back this year with the Turtles one. Like the Turtle Van is probably my most anticipated toy of the year. So I guess Turtles maybe is your answer. But and there's some leaks, aren't there, that imply maybe like a Knight Rider or a Batmobile or something, a Knight Rider at least, I think. And I think maybe there's something that hints at maybe a Sonic. Well, I think the word Sonic has been heard in conjunction with the Collaborative line, and people are sort of assuming that's the Hedgehog. But I don't think we know for sure, but I think Collaborative's kind of got its juice back at the minute. Maybe it's a 40th anniversary thing, but I like what I'm seeing. I mean, I'm really looking forward to the Turtle Van, as I say. Let's see, what else do we have? Jamie Roberts asks, did you watch the G1 series in Whack-A-Day in 3-minute installments, or was that too early for you? Yeah, too early for me. I have no memory of ever doing that, so I don't believe I did. That was 85, so I would only have been 3, so if I did, I wouldn't have any memory of it anyway. So I don't believe I did. No, so that was a little bit before me. I think it was videos from the video shop. Well, short-term entertainment asks, what do you think the next combiner to come out in Legacy is? Well, I think the leaks say it's the Aerialbots, isn't it? The individual deluxe small Aerialbots, I believe, are on the leak list for next year. No sign of Silverbolt on that list. I think we're all sort of assuming he must be the Commander figure, but I don't really know how that's going to work, so we'll see, I guess. There is a Swindle on the list for next year too, and people are thinking like maybe that will be Combaticons. But then there's a lot of people also saying, no, maybe it'll be animated Swindle. So yeah, who knows? But I think it's interesting, going back to what I was saying before, that Aerialbots and Combaticons together would be all the components that you would need to make a Legacy Nexus Prime. So could be. Mr. Chief asks, Master Chief. Mr. Chief was my father. Mr. Chief asks, what do you think of the Skybound comics? Yeah, I'm loving them at the minute. Really enjoying the Transformers series, and Void Rivals is good too. Not reading the G.I. Joe stuff though. I don't mind G.I. Joe. I'm not a huge G.I. Joe fan, but I might check it out in trade when it happens, but I haven't been reading it individually in issue format. Seth Lowry asks, is there a Basics episode that you want to make that you haven't gotten to yet, due to them not having a lot of lore or appearances? Yes, there's a couple on the schedule for this year that I've kind of wanted to do for a while, but there wasn't quite enough there yet, and some stuff has happened this year where I'm like, yep, it's time for those guys. But I'm not giving away what ones they are yet. But you can, if you're paying attention to what toys are coming out this year, you can probably guess some of the the groups involved. One I'd been wanting to do for a while, but simply hadn't, not because they didn't have enough lore necessarily, but I just hadn't got around to it yet, I think that I will show you what the next video is now. Where is my link? There it is. Yeah, so our sponsored episodes so far, we've had Minerva and we've had Roadbuster. And when I do sponsored episodes, I usually like to break them up with one non-sponsored one dropped into the middle. So the next video, next weekend's, is one of those non-sponsored ones, and it's one that's just for me. And it is the Tri-Pricus Council from Beast Wars. This one took longer than I thought it would. Because, these are guys who literally appear in one scene. but it's a full length episode. I was looking at it and I couldn't believe how long it came out. It does include the Jointrons, the Japanese versions of these toys. So that beefs it up a little bit. But it was weirdly tough to write at the very end. I mean, this, I just said I was writing a little bit about BotCon, and this was the one I was writing on, it was just tough to write about the comic that they did. They were in the last official BotCon, Dawn of the Predicus. It was just, there's a lot of stuff in that comic, and getting it all down into a couple of sentences in one paragraph was tough. But I think I did it in the end. Wow, can you guys hear my fan going nuts? This computer is well on its last legs. I got to get a new machine sometime this year. That fan is crazy at this point. Michael Waterman asks. Oh, sorry. Let me just realize. Let me take these guys down and put my face back up on screen there. So yeah, Tri-Pricus Council, that's in the can. That will be going up early for Patreon supporters on Monday, start of the week. Look out for it then, and it will be up on YouTube next Saturday at the usual time. Tri-Pricus Council is our non-sponsored episode to break up the sponsored ones for this summer. Now I saw a question there and I was going to answer it, and now I've lost sight of it. Oh, there we are. Michael Waterman asks, what day am I at TF Nation? Yep, I'll be there all 3 days, and I'll also be there on the Thursday beforehand as well. TF Nation is 6 weeks away at this point? Yikes. I gotta hurry up. Oh, sorry, 1 second, folks. Hearing a strange noise in the background. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. It's kind of a buzz or a beep or a whir or something. Never mind. I got stuff I need to finish for TF Nation and can't tell you anything about it yet. Hasn't been properly announced, but it's getting close to completion. Of course, there will be the Matrix test quiz as well. Will be on the Saturday night as usual, and that will go up on the channel shortly after the convention. For you guys all to test your wits with. But I personally, yes, will be there at TF Nation Friday, Saturday and Sunday. And please come up and say hello. Michael, anyone who's there. I've always got time to shake a hand, say hello, take a photo, whatever you want. Yeah, come up and say hello, please. Looking forward to it. TF Nation is Transformers Christmas, man. It's where my year starts and ends. Always looking forward to it. And hopefully I'll see a bunch of you guys there. DJ says, big fan. Oh, everyone's been so nice. Your content really brings me joy. How are you feeling about what's going on with Earthspark, and any thoughts on what's coming next? Yeah, I'm gonna say that second season of Earthspark has been disappointing so far. I think it has room to rally in the second half, but the loss of Nicole Dubuque and May Cat on that second season really does seem to have dealt a blow to the complexity, the intelligence of the writing. Season 2 of Earthspark, it just kind of feels like RID 15 all over again. Just unambitious, stock plot stuff, you know. I mean, there was some stuff I liked in the second season. I was happy to see the whole tunnels under. Just hide that. Sorry, somebody talking nonsense in the chat. Yes, I was happy to see the whole tunnels under Witwicky thing pay off, and stuff that seemed like very loosey-goosey, random plotting at the end of season 1 that might have just been that I couldn't tell when I was watching season 1 if it was legitimate foreshadowing or ideas that were just being thrown out randomly. But I was happy at least that season 2 said no, it was legitimate foreshadowing, and we're paying it off here with ideas that I enjoyed. You know, I did enjoy the payoff to those ideas, but the breadth of the season, unfortunately, just it's. I think there's room for it to rally, but the question is whether there is the ambition and the talent to allow it to rally, compared to where the passion, I should say, the ambition and the passion to make it rally, as compared to the ambition and the passion that really clearly went into season 1. You know, and season 1 had its ups and downs. It did have wobbly plotting, and not all of its subplots paid off properly. But I think it was easily the most ambitious thing since Prime, honestly, most ambitious thing in a decade. But yeah, which is why it sucks all the more that the second season doesn't have that energy. Well, I guess we can only just wait to see what happens in the second half. But I wouldn't be surprised if there is only one more drop of 10 episodes rather than, you know, a full 26. I wouldn't be surprised if it was only 20, and that was it. And it wouldn't surprise me, if that was the end of it. You know, we haven't had the official confirmation on that, but it would not surprise me at all, just in the way things seem to have been going, that is the end of it. But I would like to think it's possible that whatever comes next might be, you know, a continuation of it in some capacity, that whatever comes next could be the RID-15 to its prime, you know, maybe keeping the characters going or something, or something. I'm not sure. I don't know what comes next, you know, for Transformers cartoons, because this was the first one in a long time to actually have a bit of ambition, to have its own real identity, as compared to your War for Cybertron or your Cyberverse, which, you know, they were their own distinct entities, but they were very much, you know, babies first aligned. A lot of aligned and IDW ideas just sort of in a blend or whipped up and reheated and served up, you know, whereas Earthspark says, yes, all that's true, that lore, but that is the past, and here is a new post-war scenario with new characters. And if I want anything, I just want more like that, you know. Seth Lowry again asks, is there a character you'd like to see in the next live-action film? I'd love to see Predacons, mostly Tarantulas and Quickstrike. I mean, Predacons would be good. I don't think we'll see them in the G.I. Joe crossover. I mean, I do think that they were right to not include them in Rise of the Beasts, you know, in addition to the Terrorcons. If they'd maybe used them as the villains instead of the Terrorcons, that would be a discussion, but I don't think anybody would really want to have seen the classic Beast Wars Predacons characters as the servants of Unicron. So, yeah, I don't know where Predacons fit into the universe. I mean, I suppose they can always do what a lot of things do now and just make them Decepticons. So it's not like we couldn't have Tarantulas, but he would just be a Decepticon like he is in IDW or like he was in Earthspark. There's something... I mean, we've had robot dinosaurs in the live-action films and everything. So, and with the introduction of the Maximals, the idea of just having big robot beasts is, there wouldn't need to be a big special reason for them. We could just have Decepticons who turn into big spiders and Tyrannosauruses and things. Yeah, I mean, I look forward to it if they did it, but I don't think they will in the G.I. Joe crossover because, well, you know what? Let me rephrase that. I don't think they should. In the G.I. Joe crossover is maybe the way to say it, because it's just one more thing on top of G.I. Joe. But, you know, as I say, if the last decade of these films has done anything, it's been over-egged pudding one film after another where they just put concept on concept on concept on concept. Maximals, Terrorcons, Predacons, Unicron, everything that was going on in the last night, and Lockdown and Bounty Hunters and drones and Galvatron and Dinobots, just thing upon thing upon thing. It's like Bumblebee was like, none of that, strip it back, one thing, Autobots and Decepticons, humans, done, go. If they can do that for G.I. Joe, it would be a good approach, but I mean, you can't really assume. So who knows, maybe Predacons will be the villains in the G.I. Joe movie. Why not? Oh, YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming, I'm being told. Let me turn down, let's see. Where is the thing? To, I realize what that sound I'm hearing in the background now is, but it's music playing at a fun fair down the road. That's what I'm hearing. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but okay, I didn't click anything, but it's telling me the stream health is good again. Sorry about that, folks. As I say, this machine is on its last legs. I think we gotta get a new computer drive going. Sorry, let me get back to that now. The Captain Kun asks, what do they ask? What are your thoughts on the current Transformers comic series from Skybound? Personally, I'm enjoying it, but wish it was either twice a month or have a secondary book focusing on the war on Cybertron. No, I'm loving it. Really enjoying it right now. I was very enthusiastic about the Skybound book before it even started, to be honest. Just, I think it was what they needed to make Transformers a hit again, was just a big headline-grabbing launch with a real talent on the comic, and I think he's really delivering. But I don't need it twice a month, and I don't need a book. But I've had enough War on Cybertron stuff from the War for Cybertron trilogy, and IDW's, which is not a knock on IDW's 2019 reboot. I enjoyed that comic too. I'm perfectly happy with the current status, and with recent issues have really brought the worlds of like Cybertron and Earth like back closer together again. So I wouldn't need a second book, but I'm very much enjoying it, and I would recommend. The first trade is out now, the first trade paperback. So if anybody hasn't checked it out yet, I mean, I think it's time. You know, Alpha Rise is asking repeatedly if we can have the basics on Gaia. And no, that's not a character with enough history to have a basics on. That's maybe someone I could do a short about, but there's nothing there. They appeared on a t-shirt, and then they were in a story, like one issue of a club story, and that was it. Nothing. And I do gather that the character has appeared in this year's BotCon comic, which is just this weekend, the current BotCon. But as I was saying earlier on the stream, BotCon isn't official anymore, so I wouldn't be covering anything that it is doing right now anyway. But I might throw him if I was ever if something was ever to happen that I could cover Gaia. I guess I would probably mention that just out of interest. But I saw I think it was Saberblade in the TF Wiki Discord was saying that I can't remember who it was, but one of the organizers at BotCon was saying that Gaia is kind of a Death's Head circuit breaker situation where she was created when BotCon wasn't official, because there was a period when BotCon literally wasn't official. It was officially sponsored, but it wasn't official. And that's when she was created originally. So technically Hasbro don't own her. So so that's something. Chris Chew Tabit says BotCon's still on. It is, yes, but it's not official anymore. It's back to the way it was in the 90s. It's not official. BotCon was never a Hasbro owned trademark. Private individuals own the BotCon trademark, and they were licensed to produce the convention. But Hasbro is no longer like officially doing a convention license. So there are no official conventions anymore, but the people who hold the trademark on the name BotCon are still able to do conventions called BotCon. See, this is why I need to do a basics on BotCon, right? That's something like maybe a lot of people don't understand. Dino Shot asks, I've recently been watching Super God Master Force. Hell yeah, good show. Got me thinking, which pretenders would you want to see in the Legacy line? I want a Thunderwing. I think Thunderwing's got to be the one. Not that he's a Master Force character, but Thunderwing, it's a little weird how little Thunderwing there's been, right? For a character who was such a big deal in the Marvel comic. We had was it Generations or was it Universe? I can't remember which one it was. I think it was Generations. Back in what, 2008? Thereabouts? I can't even remember when it was now. And that's been, I tell a lie, they did a Titan Master, didn't they, in Titan's Return? Just a little ahead of Thunderwing. And it's like, well, yeah, I've said it before. I can't remember if I've ever said it on a stream before, but the Marvel comic was going through a real period there of just not being relevant. Just like so much of everything the Legacy line has been doing has been cartoon accuracy based. And the Marvel comic has just not been treated as important. And we're seeing that change a bit now. Finally, with these comic releases that are coming up, gotta get me that Zaron and Flame. That's great. And Skybound have announced they're going to be reprinting the Marvel series as well. So it's nice to see its relevance coming back. But let's get a Thunderwing. Come on. But as for, pretenders in Legacy, I mean, I like a lot of the pretender characters. And I like what they've done with like Iguanus and Skullgrin in Legacy, but it's like the Autobot guys, it's hard to kind of imagine doing that with, because the robot modes were never very interesting. They're just little two-tone stick figures, and their alternate modes were never good because they're two-tone stick figures folded over on themselves, and their shells were just armored spacemen, which is also not very interesting. But the Decepticons were cool monsters, and I think that's why we've only really had Decepticons and Metalhawk, who has that whole, he's a Japanese character, he's got that mystique behind him, and they've created like a and he had a vehicle mode that was something. It looked like something, but it's hard to imagine like a legacy landmine turning into an authentic a G1 landmine robot torso with its legs folded up behind its head. Yeah. Seth Lowry jumps in again to ask, is it possible to get the basics on Tarantulas? I thought his portrayal in Earthspark was an interesting departure from how he's usually portrayed. Tarantulas is one that it's high on the list of stuff people ask for now. Up until last year, Mirage was up there. But I feel like maybe like Tarantulas and Metroplex are the ones everyone asks for now. And I will say, I've tentatively got him in on the schedule, but I'm kind of waiting to see if he turns up in the second half of Earthspark Season 2. I kind of doubt he will, because it doesn't feel like they're spending Alfie Allen money anymore on Earthspark, so like they wouldn't get the celebrity voice actor back. But it's like I was saying before about trying to keep ahead of the news cycle just enough that you're not immediately invalidated. So I wouldn't want to drop Tarantulas, let's say for Halloween, and then the next batch of Earthspark episodes come out in November or December, and there's Tarantulas. So it might not happen this year, but it's tentatively it's definitely like on my list, but even like a lot of people were asking about it after the Roadbuster episode last week, and with the Tri-Pricus Council, as previously noted, being next week's episode, Tarantulas a big player in that story as well, and it's kept him in my mind, and I want to do him because I love doing Beast Wars episodes. But the thing about Beast Wars episodes is you gotta space them out, or you run out of them. Not that there are that many left, even at this point. Which is a good answer to the question Mahad is yelling there. What's my favorite Transformer series of all time? And I do tend to go Beast Wars. It's probably Beast Wars or animated. I feel like I get doing Beast Wars characters in the basics are the ones I know I get the most enjoyment out of. So if I ever doubted that Beast Wars was my favorite, I feel like it's the bit of work that I get the most enjoyment out of is doing videos about Beast Wars, There's Karyudo fan subs asking what Japanese G1 episode would I like to see translated. Excuse me. I can't say anything immediately jumps to mind. Karyudo, if you guys don't know, they recently translated the first 3 episodes of G1, the original More Than Meets the Eye miniseries, because Takara have been releasing the G1 cartoon, the Japanese version of the G1 cartoon, on their YouTube, and Karyudo have released subtitled versions of it, and you can see that it's really very similar to the original English version, barring a few little changes, and it's just finding out what those little changes are that's the interesting thing. But I don't know, Kramzik? How about Kramzik? Robo plays saying perhaps the basics on Thunderwing, as he plays a core antagonist for. Yeah, I could definitely do the basics on Thunderwing. I just haven't yet. I think maybe that's me in my heart of hearts hoping they're going to announce some new Thunderwing toy and holding off just until then. JT asks basics on the Terrans. I can't see it happening anytime soon, obviously, because they've only been in Earthspark, and they'll have to have some kind of legacy or something before I can do a video about them. Blastertronus says, do you think the Neonites should be revived with Circuit Breaker, giving the science dog treatment to avoid copyright? I'm not sure what you mean by the science dog treatment, but I assume that's a way of circumventing copyright by presenting an altered version of them so that they don't look like Circuit Breaker and the Neonites, but you can tell that they're meant to be Circuit Breaker and the Neonites. Sure, why not? I mean, I don't have any great passion for the Neonites, but I think there's mileage in Circuit Breaker as a character. With the announcement of the Death's Head Marvel Legends figure, no, let's not kid ourselves. They're not going to do a Circuit Breaker Marvel Legends figure, but that's the dream after a Death's Head 6-inch Marvel Legends figure. Circuit Breaker, that's the dream. Fellmaster asks, would I be interested in doing a basics on Primacron? I have thought about it. And would you be interested in his return? Could be enslaved or corrupted by the spirit of Unicron after discovering Dark Energon to build a body for him. That was always kind of my headcanon back whenever we were doing the whole singularity thing for Unicron. My headcanon was that the spirit of Unicron must have possessed or influenced Primacron to build a body for him. Primacron's had just enough little things in Japanese media that I reckon I could do probably an obscure characters month episode about him, but I reckon I could do it. It'd be nice if he was in something new soon, randomly, prominently. I don't know what he would show up in, but something that could spur me to do an obscure video about him or something like that. Mech Destroy Z974 says, can I agree that Unicron is Computron's mother and Grimlock is the father? Oh, I don't know. I think we're going to have to send off for a DNA test. Short-term Entertainment asks, after years of doing the basics, are you having a hard time finding Transformers I haven't done? Not really. I have a spreadsheet that's got about 3 years more of ideas in it. Maybe after that it might start getting to be a challenge, but that'll be 10 years. So yeah, but we'll worry about that when we reach the 10-year mark, huh? Jolene asks, if I did do a Primacron video, would I put the IDW Unicron creator guy in it? I reckon I would, yeah. In my head, there's the moment in IDW's comics when they ask him his name, and he says he can't remember it, and I thought he was going to say his name was Primacron. I thought they were going to nod to that. TBH791 asks, what's that big purple Decepticon figure behind me? That's the Nemesis, the Legacy Nemesis, my newest acquisition. I haven't got any toys in like a couple of months now, except for the big lass there, who I was holding off on until she was, well, I won't say cheap, because there's still 3 figures, but cheaper, you know, whenever Hasbro Pulse marked her down for clearance. Yeah, I like her. 250th special episode when, hang on, you know what? Let me just check a folder here. Let me see here. Yeah, the 250th episode looks like it's gonna fall during Obscure Characters Month this year. So, I don't wanna mess around with Obscure Characters Month, because a lot of people really enjoy Obscure Characters Month. But you know, maybe if I can get a buffer going, I can squeeze one. Yeah, according to my folder at the moment, the 250th episode is the first episode of Obscure Characters Month this year. So if I can get a little buffer going, maybe we can bump it up to November. That would be the 250th. Yeah, maybe, but I'm not promising anything. Hey, there's Verzi Edits asking, just wondering if special crossover events would ever justify making a Basics episode, like, for instance, the Dark Cybertron event in IDW. Well, I did do one about the Underbase saga in the Marvel comic. So, yeah, I have always thought that, like, special stories could definitely stand episodes. I guess it's never been in the forefront of my mind because I'm having trouble thinking of a good example right now. Maybe Target 2006, but you know, Combiner Wars, I guess, would be one. Of course, they could just do an episode about the toy line and the cartoon at the same time, or maybe Revolution from IDW, or I'm kind of coming up empty, but stories have always sort of been ones I feel like I could do, but I don't know that there are too many. Transformers is a bit weird like that, right? You know, whenever people say like, "Oh, why don't we do direct-to-video animated movies based on famous Transformers stories?" But Transformers, it doesn't really work like that. It's not. Transformers has themes and ideas that echo and repeat, sure, but so much of those are from Transformers the movie. Like, Transformers the movie is the one big, like, Transformers story that sort of echoes across the whole metaverse of the thing, where everything that it did is been chopped and changed and spliced and reimagined across 40 years. But, you know, it's not like X-Men, where we get an X-Men cartoon that does the Dark Phoenix saga, and we get an X-Men film that does the Dark Phoenix saga, but it does it badly. So they do another film that does the Dark Phoenix saga, and then we do a cartoon reboot that does the Dark Phoenix again. We don't have those ones that directly adapt those stories. You know, it doesn't work like that. So, like, the truly iconic stories don't echo across time the way they do, like with comic book characters or something like that. So I guess there are fewer options. Let's see. Oh my goodness, we've been going for like 50 minutes already. I only really meant to stay on for an hour. You wind me up and let me go. Right. Well, we'll not stop just yet then, since we haven't been. It was since. Well, right. So let's show off what else is coming up. And so, as I said, next week, it's the Tri-Pricus Council. That's our non-sponsored episode. But then 2 weeks after that, we've got, this is from, if I remember correctly, Patreon sponsor Dom Verzi, I believe, has sponsored this one, Transformers Prime. This one's been in the back of my head for a little while. So whenever they suggested it as their pick for a sponsored episode, I was like, great choice, let's do it. I've had it in my head for a while, and I think it is time. You know, I did one for the aligned continuity already, but obviously Prime is very much its own thing within that, where we can talk about the cartoon, and the spin-offs, and the tie-ins, and the toys. And yeah, I've been writing it in my head for the last little while, and yeah, I think this is going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to working on this one. So that should be in about 3 weeks from now, about 3 weeks from now, I look forward to Transformers Prime. We got the Tri-Pricus Council next week, and then 2 weeks after that, Transformers Prime. Let's see. I think I missed a... Yep, I did. The Captain Coon says, basics on Zaron as episode 250. I haven't locked in this year's Obscure Characters Month choices yet, but I think Zaron's got to be one of them, right? Gotta get them toys. Ooh, yes. Next to the Turtle Van, one of my most anticipated of the year. Just, those look lovely. Gotta have those. And I think that is the impetus for a Zaron episode, because there's very little to say about Zaron, but those toys are just a little mwah at the end, just enough to do it. Seth Lowry says 250th episode, Quick Strike, the best Obscure bot. There are a couple of Quick Strikes. What do you got? You got Beast Wars Quick Strike, obviously. There was Beast Machines Quick Strike. There was Energon Quick Strike. There was the Dark Steel, the movie character, the Sideswipe recolor, who was designed to look like Quick Strike, but he wasn't named Quick Strike. Were there any other Quick Strikes? That still probably is only Obscure character levels of quantity, though, because it's not like those guys were ever really in anything. Darksteel was in an IDW comic at one point, but I don't think any of the other guys ever did anything. But can't say that that would be on the list for this year. But Quick Strike is kind of like the next big... Well, no, not the next big... Like, the next big obvious missing Beast Wars character Legacy hasn't done has got to be Rampage. But after that, it's probably Quick Strike, right? You know, they just don't seem interested in doing Transmetal 1 versions of anybody, and it's kind of fine with me, to be honest. But Quick Strike, like, just as a quick, what's left? Quick Strike, Rampage, and Depth Charger, like the only other Beast Wars characters, aren't they, from the cartoon, setting aside upgrades and alternate versions of things who haven't got toys yet. So I wouldn't rule it out. A Quick Strike, that is to say, not a video. Maybe if they do a toy of him, then I'll do a video. But he could well be Obscure Characters Month territory anyway. Matt R75 says, I'm baffled we haven't got an update for Quick Strike. He should be fairly easy to engineer since the original toy's transformation would be pretty simple to keep. Yeah, I think Quick Strike is one of those guys where it's like, he's not top of many people's favorite Beast Wars characters lists, is he? Like, he's fun, but he really runs out of steam pretty early on in Beast Wars. He's an angry cowboy. He's like the one character who doesn't have like an arc of some kind, whether it's like a plot-based one or a character journey they go on. He is just goon, and he's not even a truly like. He's no Inferno, is he? Like, Inferno is goon, but he's not Inferno, is he? Yeah, nobody loves Quick Strike like people love Inferno. So it's not too surprising to me that he has not been anybody's go-to reinvention for Legacy. If they did him, don't get me wrong, I would jump on it, absolutely, but well. DJ asks, if I could create an original Transformer, what would the character be? It may shock you to know, but I just don't have a Transformers OC, you know? I've never been really that kind of guy. So I honestly, I wish I had an answer for that one, but I don't really. It's like whenever anybody asks who my favorite character is, I barely have an answer for who my favorite character is, and I sort of default to Omega Supreme, but I don't have a big... I don't have some great unfulfilled wish or some great idea of what I would want to see out of a Transformers. Anytime anybody asks me, I always say, I want to see something I've never seen before. I want to be surprised. I don't want you to fulfill some preconceived expectation that I have. I want you to surprise me with something good and new. And that's what Earthspark did for me, you know, brand new characters. Polygon Bagel asks, do I like Rescue Bots? Heck yeah, I like Rescue Bots. Love Rescue Bots. Great show. Wish I could do more videos about Rescue Bots, but like the Terrans, those guys were all like new characters. Apart from, like, well, Blade and Chase's names got reused. Blade's and Chase's names were reused, but there isn't really enough going on with those characters, the previous holders of those names, to even make videos about them. And I hate that I can't do more Rescue Bot stuff. I did do a video about Rescue Bots, the show, the series, the franchise, last year, and no bugger watched it. That was a real stinker. That one sank, which was disappointing. But hey, sometimes these things are just for me. Dakota Nelson asks if I have any hot takes on parts of the Transformers lore. I have only hot takes, but I think you'll have to get specific if there's something I can't think of any off the top of my head. Like, oh, what's my hottest take right now? They should stop making two separate lines, one for collectors and one for kids. Reconsolidate, just do one line in proper synchronicity with a cartoon again, like things used to be in the first half of the 2000s, and so that the stuff for kids can be good again, instead of the warmed over stuff that they've been doing for RID-15, Cyberverse, Earthspark. You know, I would sacrifice the collector focused stuff like your legacies and everything to get one singularly focused good new Transformers line about new characters and new ideas. I would sacrifice what they're doing with Legacy to get the quality that Legacy is putting out transferred over to that. There's a hot take for you. But, you know, raise any specific subjects and we'll see how hot a take I have. Oh, Guzzy Hero asked, I missed it there, what's the best mold and why is it Siege Megatron? Well, Hasbro certainly seem to think Siege Megatron is the best mold, don't they? Certainly there's that image going around on social media, isn't there, that there are 12 recolors of that now, and I own one of them, the original one. I didn't even bother with the Earthrise one. It's fine. It's not as good as Siege Prime, but, well... Chris Hugh Talbot asks, is there a more complex or in-depth topic you'd like to cover someday? E.g. this ongoing NB-phobic backlash to Nightshade. It's a shame what they've done with... let's not get into that. But that's heavy stuff, you know, and the basics, I think, I wouldn't say like I try to keep it light, but... try to stick to just the facts on the basics, you know. I'm not above editorializing sometimes, you know, whenever something does something worth a cringe. I've pointed it out in past videos, and you know, if I did something about Nightshade, I'm sure I would mention, because you know, it's like whenever I did the Skids video, sure, I mentioned the controversy about Skids and Mudflap, the racist thing there. Because it's part of the conversation surrounding the characters. It's part of their legacy for good or for ill, you know, that happened. And that's a fact that happened. So I could definitely talk about it in that regard. But, you know, I can't see myself sitting down and doing like a 45-minute video about that. Not now anyway, but you know, maybe if I want to open myself up to just full-on hate mail and have to start paying people to moderate my comments for me, maybe that'll be the day for that. Though, you know, less jokingly, and you know, we're not to brush off serious issues or anything, obviously, but like I have been trying to think recently about how I could do like longer format videos, because the video I did last year about the first draft, or the making of the writing of Transformers the movie, was a very successful video. It got the most views. By the end of I released that in October, and by the end of the year, it had more views than any other video that had come out that year. And YouTube looked at that and said, "Oh, you're doing long form videos now, is it? So, all right, well, we won't bother publicizing your regular videos. Yeah, we'll just bury those now. Your numbers can go in the toilet. You're making long form ones now." And I have sort of thought, well, what could I do? Somebody asked earlier that I saw it flick past about bringing back the art of Transformers. You know, I was sitting thinking to myself yesterday, people do ask about bringing back that, and I thought, maybe I could do just one big, instead of doing a multi-part short videos, maybe I could do one big long video to... I've always said that if I brought back the art of Transformers, I think I would have to start it over again, because we've learned more and more artwork has become available since I did those videos. So I would start it over again. But yeah, like maybe a long form video talking about that, the whole thing from start to finish. Excuse me, actually finish that series. I mean, it would only have taken one or two more episodes to finish anyway. maybe complete that. That could be an idea for a long form one. But sorry, distracted for a second. Yeah, I've been thinking about it, but I haven't settled on anything yet. It's like the 40th anniversary, obviously, is this year, and I haven't done anything really special for it. And I've had a couple of ideas, but I just haven't had the time to really flesh them out and explore them. But we'll see what happens. Maybe after TF Nation, whenever I've not got like a bunch of stuff I have to do for that some of which I haven't even started yet. We'll see. Maybe something in September to go along with the 40th anniversary of the premiere of the cartoon. But again, not promising anything because I don't know. It's about time and ability to ability to realize any ideas that I have. Dakota Nelson asks for any hot takes I have on the lore of the Primes. I always used to say that the Primes was something that should remain mysterious. I liked the idea of there being like a mythology, an ancient gods of Cybertron type thing, but I always thought that keeping it mysterious, never actually identifying all of them by name, would have been a fine way of doing it. Of course, it became apparent that, well, nerds love lists. I'm a nerd. I love lists. And yeah, people see a blank space and they want to fill it, so they did that. And some of the best stuff I think that was done with the ideas was in Brian Ruckley's IDW 2019 reboot, where they really had a character, Termigax, I think was the character, talked about it offhand, who like really looked at the idea and asked the question, like, and it's a very metatextual question, is like, well, do these characters exist, and are they the source of the Spark, the T-Cog, the Protoform, or the Combiners, Beasts, Minicons, or are they things that the Transformers invented to explain those things? In the same way that humanity invented its gods to explain the things that they saw in the world. And, obviously, but it's interesting because that is why those things exist. Human beings created those fictional characters for the Transformers mythos as a way of explaining Combiners, Minicons, Beasts, female Transformers, the origins of all these things. And I like metaphorical storytelling. So I would enjoy seeing something that approached it more like that. But, that ship has really sailed now. Because it did all happen. There is a book that tells the whole story and tells you how it all happened, and everything treats it all as fact, as having happened. So what are you going to do? I think it's great that they're making toys of them next year. I'll say that. I think that it's great that we can have a toy line. As much as, like, as I say, I'd be willing to sacrifice what Legacy is doing in the name of a new focused singular line, and how I think they're running out of things that need remaking. It is still great that we can have a toy line that's mostly based around characters who've never actually had proper toys before. So that's good. That's exciting. I'll give it that. Martin, nope, misread that. Martian Cookie Hunter asks, will you ever do the basics on Beast Wars Silverbolt, Beast Wars Rampage, Lugnut, Frenzy, and Rumble? Yes to all, definitely. Beast Wars Silverbolt I could do easily. I think enough time has passed since obviously a lot of that will be repeating stuff that was in the Aerial Bots video, but I feel like enough time has passed now that it would be totally safe to do an episode about, because I would do all the Silverbolts in one video. Likewise, I would do all the Rampages, so there would be no trouble there at all. Lugnut, I feel like Lugnut is like one more roll away from getting a proper video. Like, we got animated, and then there's the other toy, and the Reveal the Shield toy, and then just a couple of... He's like one more roll away from really doing it. And Rumble and Frenzy, yeah, definitely. I would do them in a video together. So yeah, all big, high on the list ones from my point of view, yeah. Wave Rod asks, how about the basics on canon or continuity redo? Yeah, I kind of need to do that one at this point. It's been 7 years, obviously, and things have changed since. I just sort of haven't put it on the list yet, but it'll happen. It doesn't super enthuse me, you know, after 7 years to go back to. Maybe I worry that can I put my mind back in that totally fresh start place again and address everything. Can I reset to zero like that in my head? Would the writing suffer if I couldn't? It would be a demanding project, that one, but it is. I'm aware that so much has happened in 7 years that doing it is something that's. I don't like feeling like there are episodes that I have to do or should do because I feel like if I'm doing them out of obligation, I feel like the work can suffer for that if I do something out of a sense of obligation, you know. Flutterflyer has just asked what Basics episode is after Prime. Will I be saying that here? And you know, now that we are an hour and 10 into this, which is, I don't want to just shut off right now, honestly. I'm having a nice time just hanging out, guys, but I don't want to go too late at the same time. But yes, that seems like as good a reason as any to show off the third and final one of these. We got Tri-Pricus Council, we got Prime, and 2 weeks after Prime we got... Now, this one will... there might be one or two people in the chat who could guess what this one is, but I think most of you couldn't guess, and we'll just do a big stream of question marks in the chat when I show you what it is. It is the Rapticons. Have you even heard of these girls? This episode is sponsored by Matt Frank, who is an artist and writer who has worked on several Transformers projects. Better known, I think, as a Godzilla fan and a kaiju artist. He's worked on IDW's Godzilla comics and plenty of official kaiju stuff as far as I know. These are a team of original characters he created for a Collectors Club storyline, and Matt has been trying to get a sponsored episode for literally years now at this point, but they sell out really fast and he always misses out. This time he got in there. I think he was the first one to jump on the new batch of sponsored episodes. And I didn't even have to message him to ask him what he wanted because I knew this is what he wanted. So he is, he's set me up with all the raw art and behind the scenes sketches. And it's going to be a different one. It's going to be a little unusual. Obviously, these are characters who have only appeared in one story, so I'll have to take a kind of a different approach to exactly how I recount the information. But it is, I think it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be something different, something a lot of people are not going to have heard of. I'm looking forward to writing this one. Yeah, I can see a lot of people going, "What?" question marks. So I look forward to hopefully being able to introduce these characters to a new audience. And as I said, they've only been in one story, so once you've seen the episode, hopefully you'll want to go and read the story as well. Let's see here. Neapolitan 47 simply says the basics on Sunstreaker. Yes, I think not this year, but I think Sunstreaker's time is coming soon. Yeah. Sunstreaker's a weird one in that, like, there are very few, like, big Sunstreaker moments. There aren't a lot of different incarnations of Sunstreaker, but there's enough there to get an episode about, definitely. Probably talk about Spin Out in there as well. But, definitely. Maybe next year. His time is coming. Dakota Nelson asks, how do you feel about the way Megatron and the Decepticons have been made more sympathetic in the modern day Transformers series? I think it has its place as a storytelling device. You know, I think IDW had a message and an approach it wanted to take. But I don't think it can always be. I think that story has maybe had its time. I was talking about this when I was over on the Hot Tub podcast with Gav. You know, there are issues that arise from the idea of, you know, people fighting for their freedom who will wind up going too far and became mass murderers, you know, but they started out with a good and legitimate point. And, you know, it muddies the waters. Do you know how many times I see people say, I hate this origin story because it makes the Autobots the bad guys. Because it's like, well, you haven't read it then, because I guess you simply don't understand that there are no Autobots yet. There's just Cybertron, and the Autobots are Optimus Prime's reaction to what Megatron does. People think that because the Decepticons are the oppressed, that it makes the Autobots the bad guys in that scenario, and there's like the original Megatron Origin, the original miniseries that sort of came up with the idea. I can't remember if it used the word Autobot. It did use the symbol, but there does seem to have been like a conscious choice by subsequent tellings of that story to not make the Autobots actually be the ones in power and have that be what the faction that forms around Optimus. I think the story has its place, but I think that the climate of the world right now, it's not it doesn't seem like really the right choice. Especially not with, whenever, you got Optimus Prime coming from the higher classes. And I think somewhere someone has kind of realized that, because with Earthspark did it first, and Transformers 1 is doing it now. It's making Optimus, Orion Pax, be from the lower classes as well, to sort of balance out the some of the problems involved in taking that approach. Some of the political implications that come through in the telling of that story. And certainly, again, IDW's 2019 reboot said no. It still had the idea of Prime and Megatron being friends, because you can still have that without the Decepticons as a whole having to be an oppressed mass rising up. The 2019 series had Megatron being mad that he wasn't allowed to do an imperialism, and that's good too. That's a story for our times. I'm interested to see what way 1 plays it, how it plays out in Transformers 1, because there'll be some people in the chat, I know at least one person in the chat has seen the film, but they're under NDA. I'm interested to see just how far into the story we get by the end of the film, because it certainly looks like the film is combining the idea of the Transformers rising up to throw off the shackles of the oppressor, and the Quintesson occupation of Cybertron have been rolled into one story, rather than the Quintessons begatting the system that results in the oppression that later has to be risen up against. I'm looking forward to Transformers 1, and I want to see how it plays out. Yes, there is the individual in question. Anyway, sorry, went off on a ramble about that. There were some other ones there. Seth Lowry asks if I'd want a Beast Wars reboot. Not particularly. It's certainly not a universal experience. Certainly, if things like Kingdom and things like Rise of the Beasts and the response to those is anything to go by, some people very much want the handling of the Maximals to remain. They're the small descendants of the Autobots and Decepticons who only get involved through time travel. I'm perfectly happy to have Maximals and Predacons just be present day factions from other planets or whatever, as a way to get them into the storylines without. It's like anytime I do an episode about Beast Wars, and the Tri-Pricus Council episode that's coming up is an example of that, because its whole scenario is so far outside the Autobot and Decepticon milieu. I do have to take a moment to explain what the setting of the Beast Wars cartoon is every time I talk about it. And maybe people would I feel I have to do that because that is the point of the basics. To contextualize everything all the time. Because not everybody has seen Beast Wars, and not everybody knows that it is set centuries in the future at a time when the Autobots and Decepticons' descendants, the Maximals and Predacons, ruled Cybertron. But I'm perfectly happy, for them to find ways to just make those characters ordinary modern day characters who are parts of the Autobots and Decepticons. I don't feel like I need to be. I did enjoy IDW's Beast Wars reboot comic book because I felt like it was the only thing to actually tackle the Beast Wars characters in a Beast Wars scenario, that is the time travel, the past. Beast Wars, the cartoon is so well loved that all Beast Wars spin-off media lives in its shadow. So much Beast Wars spin-off media has been about dancing between the raindrops of the Beast Wars cartoon, side stories, sequels, spin-offs, secret stories that were happening in the background. And a lot of them don't get the spirit of the show, and it's maddening. And I really felt like IDW's Beast Wars comic book did. I felt like it understood it, to me. And it delivered, and it didn't try to, dance between the raindrops. It just did a straight reboot of the story. And I enjoyed that, but I don't need that story to have Beast Wars characters. I'm happy to have Beast Wars characters just be integrated into the regular thing without rebooting the whole shebang. Blastertronus asks, did you think they butchered Starscream's character arc in Earthspark Season 2? I certainly think so. Well, I gotta tell you, I wasn't a fan. I liked Earthspark, but I wasn't a fan of the handling of Starscream in Season 1. I've never got on with the idea of presenting Starscream as an abuse victim. It's a popular narrative and a popular reading of the character by fans, and has been for years, and it has crept into other media like the IDW comics. It didn't go full bore in the IDW comics, but that one episode of Earthspark Season 1, it was like Starscream did nothing wrong and he's only ever been abused by Megatron. And I'm like, Starscream is not an abuse victim. Starscream fucks around and is caught finding out. That is what happens to Starscream. So I'm not sad that Season 2 did not follow through on that and just did Starscream being the piece of shit that Starscream should be. Starscream is 50% dangerous, 50% complete schmuck, and that is a prime Starscream. I think is the thing that most understood how to characterize Starscream in the present day for me. But I will say that just hard resetting to depicting Starscream that way in Season 2 of Earthspark was also not the way to go for me, because we spent so much time with hashtag in the episode of Season 2, in the episodes of Season 2 that we've had so far, that there was more than enough room to actually tackle her emotions and how she felt about finding out that that's what Starscream is actually really like, and he fed her a line in Season 1. But we were saying earlier on, Earthspark Season 2 just does not seem interested in that level of intelligence or nuance. So yeah, I mean, it satisfied nobody, frankly. I mean, that's it. It didn't satisfy people who liked what Season 1 did, and it didn't satisfy me as somebody who didn't like it but thought that there was mileage to showing the turn. It wasn't good. No. Whatever way you look at it. I think there was one more fan funding question there. Silas Breakdown asks, how much of a series do you rewatch for research? I'll always rewatch something, but not that much usually, because I've consumed a lot of these shows many times over. I rarely feel, for instance, like I have to rewatch any Beast Wars. But with the Tri-Pricus Council episode we got coming up, I didn't feel like I had to rewatch any Beast Wars significantly. I rewatched the one scene the Tri-Pricus Council are in, because it's the only thing I had to work with to get footage from, for a large part. But with the Jointrons are also in this episode, the Japanese recolors of the Tri-Pricus toys. And yeah, I did have to sit down and rewatch the half dozen episodes of Beast Wars 2nd that they reappear in, because I watched those once a couple of years ago, didn't really enjoy them very much, and needed to refresh myself. And I watched them again and I was like, oh wait, actually, I like these guys now. I must have mellowed. These guys might actually be funny. I'm not sure why I didn't like this the first time around. Sam Irvine asks me to simply do a collaboration with another Transformers YouTuber. Well, I was just on Gav Spence, TRDQ's podcast a month or so ago. I think the thing about my content is I don't think it lends itself to collaboration too well, I don't know what form a collaboration would take, short of me going on. I did a voice in Kean Carlisle's Combaticons animation when Commented Cam did his ultimate ranking of all G1 episodes. I was on there and talked about Decepticon Raider in King Arthur's Court. That's probably like, it's just me guessing or something, you know. I don't know how my content lends itself to collaboration, you know. Vermilius Cron, that's a great name, asks if I'm interested in anything besides TF. Yeah, sure. I mean, I do a Sonic the Hedgehog podcast every 2 weeks, Sonic the Comic, the podcast. I'm a regular comic book reader, mostly Marvel. Nothing. I'm not into anything like as deeply and as seriously as Transformers, you know. But I like me a turtle from time to time. I'm in the middle of rewatching the 2012 Turtles show. You know when people say like they're multi fandoms or whatever. I don't think I'm not in the fandom for anything else. You know, I'm not creating for any other fandoms. I just have stuff I like, you know. DJ says, so much of my life revolves around reviewing pop culture and media. What do you do to relax? It's a fair question, you know. And reading mostly at the moment. I have been buying up big comic omnibuses after not... I haven't been reading a lot of comics for a couple of years now. COVID kind of happened at a time when I was losing interest in what was going on in comics. But, you know, the Energon universe got me to go back to my comic shop to place an order. So now I'm starting to pick up a few bits and pieces again. You know, I've checked out the new Marvel Ultimate books, Spider-Man, and I mean, I'm a big Jonathan Hickman fan, so it didn't take much to get me to check that out. Spider-Man and the Ultimates, Al Ewing's Immortal Thor. What else am I reading at the moment? I was reading Hickman's Gods, Slott's Superior Spider-Man Revival. The big things I'm reading at the moment are sitting on the floor beside me here. I suppose these are kind of Transformers adjacent, though. I'm currently reading the Micronauts Omnibus Marvel. Micronauts are Micronauts and stretching. Micronauts and ROM, Marvel comics from back in the 70s and early 80s based on... I mean, some of you guys will know these from IDW's comics when they crossed over with the Transformers, but these have always been unattainable thing. Marvel has not been able to reprint these comics in 40 years, and I've always wanted to read them because they've always been spoken of very highly, not like in like toy collecting circles or anything, just in comics collecting circles, both written by Bill Mantlo, spoken of very highly, and I've always wanted to read them. And Marvel have struck a deal with Hasbro this past year and are now printing all these omnibuses to reprint the whole... They're really firing them out. They're doing three omnibuses for each in 1 year. And I'm like, I'm not waiting. If I don't jump on these as soon as they come out, they might disappear for another 40 years. So yeah, that's what I'm spending most of my time reading. And as I say, I'm in the middle of a big Turtles rewatch as well. New season of The Bear just dropped the other day too, so I'm watching that as well. And I've been trying to get back into video games. I really fell out of video games Well, frankly, for most of the 2010s, the Nintendo DS sort of ruined me for video games. I loved that little thing, and that was... I couldn't sit down to console game after I fell in love with the DS, and I really fell out of games. And in the last year or two, I've been trying to pick up a few games. Like in the last year, I've played Horizon Zero Dawn. And these are not new games, like things I missed in the last couple of years, the last decade. Horizon Zero Dawn, Arkham City, Yakuza Kiwami. I decided to give that one a roll. Really, I've been enjoying all of them so far. Currently playing Star Wars. What the flip is it called? Jedi Fallen Order. And as a Sonic fan, I checked out Sonic Superstars and Sonic Frontier as well. So yeah, I usually spend Sunday. I'll read some comics and then I'll do some games and then I'll watch some stuff in the evening. That's and the computer stays off and the phone may even go in another room to just fully disconnect from Twitter and Transformers just in general. So yeah, that was a weirdly personal answer, but yeah, that's kind of what I'm up to at the minute. Dakota Nelson asks, who are my favorite human protagonists in a Transformers series? Oh gosh. Well, you know, I was Spike in the cartoon, I think sort of remains, I wouldn't say the gold standard, but a good example of the balance one needs to find in implementing a human character who is definitely part of the main cast of the show, but doesn't eclipse the robots so much so that when you do something like a desertion of the Dinobots, where Spike goes to Cybertron and you see this alien world from the human perspective, it is something new and exciting and different. You know, as compared to, say, like the Armada kids, who are the main characters and do eclipse a lot of the activity. Sorry is good too, obviously, but obviously I'm sure as soon as I've said that, people will be jumping into the chat to say, oh, she doesn't count, she's a robot. I was always had quite a soft spot for the Cybertron kids. I find they had a good balance. They weren't like the Armada kids where they would really take over the show. And they had, you know, they had identifiable roles and personalities. You know, as compared to like the Armada kids, where like Alexis is the boring, bossy one, and Rad and Carlos are the same character, but Carlos is a bit dumber. And the Prime kids too. I liked the Prime kids, but that was a show where, like, as the show went on, you could kind of see they were struggling to find a place for the kids a lot of the time. Like, there are many episodes of season 2 where the kids just kind of drop out of it. And I've liked the kids in Earthspark. You know, I've liked that Earthspark has recognized the importance of humans to Transformers media after a solid 5 years of Transformers media not being interested in tackling that side of stuff. And I think Daniel Warren Johnson has done a very good job with Spike and Carly in the new comics as well. What else? Oh gosh, we're up to an hour and a half now. I think maybe time to shut off soon. But Paleoanalysis says, I'm a paleontology content creator, but I also love Beast Wars. Excellent. Not perhaps the most paleontologically accurate Beast Transformers content, but I'd love to guest on your channel and do a speculative video about what animals the Maximals would really have scanned 4 million years ago. I don't know that a speculative video like that, as I say, I don't know how my channel lends its. I've really carved out a niche where I think people know sort of what to expect from this channel, and if I started doing like stuff like that, maybe some people would welcome it, I don't know. But something to keep in mind anyway. Let's see. Robot Lorekeeper says, they're not the protags, but Dot and Alex in Earthspark are fantastic IMO. Yeah, I really do like Dot and Alex. They weren't up to much in season 2, unfortunately. It comes back to that. But sometimes I think Earthspark goes a bit saccharine. It's a bit lovey-dovey, ooey-gooey. Oh, family, we're so important. The most important thing is family. It kind of beats you over the head with it sometimes, but like the ideas behind the characters of Dot and Alex and yeah, I really enjoyed those characters. And I didn't mention the Burns family. Shame on me. Obviously, the Burns family from Rescue Bots are great as well. They might be my actual favorites. Now that I think about it, I can't believe that took me that long to even think about it. Dog Supremacy asks, what's my honest opinion on Rise of the Beasts? You know, I said it at the time. I got invited to the premiere of Rise of the Beasts. I was very lucky to be invited to that. But the result is I will never have a normal opinion about that film. I considered myself very privileged. I was very excited to be extended that offer. And the consequence of that is that experience is completely tied up in how I view that film. I have not actually rewatched the film in a year. I keep meaning to. I haven't got around to it yet. So what can I tell you? I had a fun time watching it. I think, you know, thinking back on it a year on, I'm like, you know what? I do need to rewatch that and maybe do a reevaluation, because I was very excited to be invited to it. I went to it. I had a fun time. They gave me free sweets, and the consequences, I can't really have a normal opinion about it, but I enjoyed it, and I think it's not even the best film I saw that year or anything. I generally think the critical views on it were fair. Better than all the other films except the first one and Bumblebee. If I was ranking them all, that's certainly where it would fall. Yeah. I liked that it actually had ideas. It had themes. It wanted to explore and do a character arc with Optimus and his anger. I liked that it had, they were buried in there, but the contrasting of the humans and the Autobots and the Maximals' inability to trust each other and work together to, implicitly contrast that with Noah and Elena's struggles as people of color, trying to not being valued and trusted by the rich white people who run the systems and the businesses that they want to enter, that they want to join. It had ideas, but I do have to sit down and rewatch it again and really maybe try and have a normal opinion about it. Arsnoff asks, would I consider a basics on faux parts? Ugh, I don't like faux parts. It wouldn't be interesting. Like, I could definitely do a video about it, but it would just be a list of me pointing out faux parts on toys. There's no narrative to really follow. They didn't do them very much, and then they started doing them all the bloody time, and here's a list of that. I wouldn't enjoy doing it, When will I do the basics on Beast machines? I did the basics on the Beast era, obviously, 6 years ago now? And I've always considered that, the components of that era can have their own, in the same way that I did the basics on the Japanese series. And I still think that, Headmasters, Master Force, Victory Zone, they could all absolutely have their own individual series. I did the basics on the aligned continuity, but I've done Rescue Bots and I'm going to do Prime. They can have their own separate series. I did the IDW overview, but Jolene, who's in the chat, sponsored the IDW John Barber Robots in Disguise comic. So yeah, I can do these things. The Beast era is kind of a funny one in that there are two parts to it. And if I was to do a basics on Beast Wars, that would be a lot of repeating what was in the basics in the Beast era. Mind you, that episode is so old now that it would come out quite differently anyway. And I could definitely do a basics on Beast Machines. I wonder if that's on the spreadsheet. I should check the spreadsheet and add that if it isn't. You can do basics on Trans Tech as well. That's one, because it's, there's a whole story there too. Justin Payne says, please do one on G1 Wheelie. I'll get there. I will. There aren't too many characters from the 86 movie left at this point. I think there's really just Wreck-Gar and Wheelie. And I'm always I get a little itchy whenever things start running out. Whenever it looks like I'm running out of stuff. There was one recently. Somebody pointed it out to me. Oh yeah, it was just did Roadbuster. So Broadside, and then that's it. I've done all the wreckers. Well, there's Impactor. I have to do Impactor. Yeah, so I suppose Impactor and there's still two more wreckers. There's only two more Dinobots, and I'll have done all the Dinobots. And I don't like that. I don't like thinking that anything can be done. Salou BC asks if I've got any plans for episodes to tie in with TF1. God, I'd love for the answer to be a real solid, full-chested yes. But the bloody film's not coming out in the UK till October, 2 weeks after it comes out in the US. So I'm going to totally miss the window unless I wind up getting invited to the premiere of this one and get to see it early, which I don't think is. I've no expectation. I've no belief that I should be or anything. It'd be nice. But, it kind of really shafts me. I want to do an episode about Orion packs. That much I know. Once I see the film, I'll do an episode about Orion packs. Because I said I would do that, 150 episodes ago? At the end of the Optimus Prime video. So yeah, definitely. I would like to do an updated Quintesson video, because it was like a what? Well, you know, the Quintesson video was solid for a year or two after I did it, but then suddenly, Cyberverse, Earthspark, Energon Universe, and now this movie, toys, stories, comics, cartoons, films, everywhere they are now. So that video has a big chunk of stuff that can be added to it. I would turn it into a really long video, though. I'd really have to reappraise that one. And maybe an updated Elita as well, because, again, she was fine for a year or so after I did the video. I think that was in late 2019. But then since then, we've had the War for Cybertron trilogy, we've had Earthspark, and we've had the new comics, and we're going to have one as well. So yeah, thing about the Elita one is that video feels like it's pretty solid. It's not like Soundwave or Bumblebee or Shockwave where it was a ground up rewrite. I think the Elita one would mostly be the same, but with new stuff on the end of it. We will see, but it's like it's penciled into the schedule as potential tie-ins for one. Yeah, but they're really, like, they've really targeted me personally by delaying the movie in the UK by 2 weeks. They just really weren't considering my feelings. It's very hurtful. Storyboy asks, what were my thoughts on IDW's 2019 comics? Yes, I was talking about it earlier on, but I did enjoy it. It was a slow burn. It was clearly a story by a novelist who was telling a big story, and with a focus on the bigger picture that at first was not quite serving the demands of telling complete single issues. And it was not action focused. It was a slow burn, but I enjoyed it. And moreover, I think that now that it stands as a complete piece of work with a beginning and an open ending, that I hope that in years to come it will be critically reappraised and people see the good things that are in it. As to whether the other part of the question there, whether I could do a basics on, I don't know that I would ever do a video about that continuity, because it was so short-lived, you know. Maybe it could be folded into a video about the War for Cybertron trilogy, maybe, or a video about Siege, because it's sort of like the comic Siege, but not quite, sort of. And could I do videos about the characters in it, like Termagax, Javelin, or Proxima? I mean, they, not until they get some more history under their belts, you know, unless it was like a video to do all of them. But then Javelin didn't come from that continuity. She was created for the previous IDW continuity for More Than Meets the Eye. Arrow Blueberry asks, I see the Titan Arc and Nemesis back there. How much of a TF toy collector are you? Yeah, no, I have a lot of... I really wish that I could have a setup here where I could have shelves behind me, or where I could even take you and show you. But this is, I've said it before many times, but this is an attic that I am in here. This is an attic room. So all the walls slope in like this. So any shelves that are up here, because figures are up here, but they're all about waist high, and they're all shelves of convenience where characters are stacked 8 deep in big, long, wide shelves. It's not a display for looking at. It's a big display of convenience for keeping. It's just one step up from putting them all in boxes. So it's not conducive to like any kind of collection tour. But no, I buy loads of stuff. I've been buying Transformers regularly since Beast Wars. And well, there's so much variety now. I don't buy everything. Got to pick and choose. You know, I haven't really been doing much with Studio series, but Legacies, and then it's Legacies where my focus is. I've picked up the deluxe figures from Earthspark, the odd Studio series one. I got the Rise of the Beast Studio series stuff. Then the odd like collaborative or what do they call them? Capsule, the capsule lines that they're doing. I'm gonna pick. I've got like it's funny. All right, I was looking at my pre-orders and I have nothing pre-ordered for the next 2 waves of Legacy. There's just like nothing there that really has my interest at all. But I still have loads of pre-ordered. Like I've got the 2 Mayhem sets pre-ordered. The Windsweeper and Breakdown and the 2 Deluxe Insecticons. I've got the Turtle Van pre-ordered. I've got Leader Swoop from Studio Series pre-ordered. What else? Filch from the Star Seekers wave. There's some stuff I'm forgetting as well. Flamin' Zaron, of course. Yes, definitely. It's like all my pre-orders that I have in for the rest of the year are all like capsule and one-shots and exclusive stuffs rather than anything from the main lines. So yeah, I'm not a completist. There's just they make so much stuff at the minute that it's easy to be able to pick and choose. Short-term Entertainment asks if I'm doing any giveaways. No current plans to. No, I don't. I'm not like Few, where people send me boxes and boxes of stuff and I wind up with doubles that I can just give away. No, I buy all. Not that I'm knocking Few in any way for obviously having stuff sent to him. That's fair play to him, absolutely. But I buy all my stuff and I don't. I don't buy stuff to use on YouTube. I don't do reviews or anything. So if I buy a toy, it's because I personally just want to have it in my collection. Like here's my desk buddy at the minute. It's Tri-Pricus, because I've just been doing the Tri-Pricus episode. So I dug this fella out of the back of the shelf, dusted him off, and reacquainted myself with this ugly freak. Not somebody that I can imagine us getting a new version of anytime soon, but a beautiful, ugly weirdo. Like, look at that arm. What is that? That's not an arm. Beast Wars loved arms that weren't arms. There were arms that were just conglomerations of bits. Gojo asks if I was ever a GoBots fan. I certainly had a few GoBots when I was younger. I'd seen episodes of the GoBots show. I knew of GoBots, but I wouldn't have said I was a fan of it in any way. But now I'm a person who owns the entire GoBots cartoon on DVD, and I'd love it if they made a new real Psykill. But I am also not going to bother picking up any of the new GoBot Minibot repaints, because those aren't really GoBots. Those are references. Those are modern versions of rare Japanese recolors. But yeah, I like a GoBot from time to time. Oops, excuse me. Throat's getting dry. Oh gosh, we've been here for an hour and 3/4 at this point. I think it might be time to quiet down for the night, folks. If anyone's got any last minute questions, then fire them out, and we will say good night. It is nearly 10 o'clock here in the UK. Zachary Dela asks, did you collect the IDW GoBots miniseries? Yes, I did. So I like a GoBot from time to time. So yeah, I picked up the GoBots miniseries. That was a bonkers miniseries. I love Tom Scioli's G.I. Joe versus Transformers. I did feel that it made some odd choices, that miniseries, in that it jettisoned the one thing that really made GoBots unique, having organic brains, in favor of doing like a Rise of the Robots type story. Not, and that was necessarily the best choice, but I still enjoyed the miniseries. Mahad roaring in the chat there, who's my favorite Transformers character and why? Well, as I was saying earlier on, I wish I had a very straightforward answer for that, but I usually like to try and when I'm asked that, I usually say Omega Supreme. Sorry. Oh boy, everybody is firing those last minute questions in here. Dog Supremacy asks, have I thought about doing a basics video on Striker? Yeah, she's on the list. Striker and Obsidian I would do together, just because I don't think Obsidian could... No, it's not that Obsidian couldn't support a video of his own, but he would fold in nicely with Striker, and Striker has a weirdly expansive enough history that, yeah, definitely the pair of them, definitely do a video about them. They are very much on the list. Fellmaster says, last one from me. Any chance on the base of the basics on Lord Imperius Delirious? My bro keeps laughing at his name, and so do I. Yeah, I thought kind of maybe that would be an obscure characters month. Do one about the Destructons, his faction. It's really just 2 stories. It's the original Blackthorn Transformers in 3D comic book that they appeared in, and the club story, 2 stories that brought them back. Which is probably enough to support an obscure characters video. Not this year, but quite plausible, because those don't feel like characters we're gonna, like, never say never, right? Because some of the stuff they've been doing this past year or two is like stuff we always thought would never see, but very hard to imagine toys of the Destructons in 2025. Karti Sadat asks if Japan, Takara, should bring back the convoy term for the heroic faction commander. I mean, has it gone anywhere? I mean, they don't call modern versions of Optimus Prime convoy anymore, but any classic uses of the character, the original Generation 1 character, they still call him convoy, and there haven't really been any new, there haven't been any new Prime characters to call convoys, have there? Am I forgetting anything off the top of my head? I mean, they made that change like with Transformers Animated, so they started using the Primes, and I don't know. Does it matter? I mean, I'm sure there are Japanese fans who wish that it could come back, and more power to them. It's just. That's what they grew up with, and it's suddenly if they stopped calling him Optimus Prime here and started calling them convoys here, we would all have the same reaction, but I don't know. I don't have any strong opinions. TBH791 asks, how about a basics on Diaclone and Microchange? Well, I did do the basics on the invention of Transformers, which talked about Diaclone and Microchange, but I have thought in recent times like that was that long ago. God, though, that was probably about 4 years ago now. That was pre-episode 100, wasn't it? God. But I have thought maybe some kind of list, like going over all the pre-Transformer stuff and explaining exactly what... because it's something that's included in individual videos. I'll say Starscream was Diaclone, or Sunstreaker was Diaclone, or in every video. But maybe like some kind of consolidated video where I go through the list of Diaclones and Microchange and explain exactly what Transformers characters they all became, and the ones that came later. Like your crosscuts, your road rages, your spinouts, your cordons. Yeah, that's a video idea I've had. It'd be a little bit different, and it might be a long form video. Maybe that's an idea for a long form video, but maybe it wouldn't take a long form video. I'd have to sit down and start writing it before I'd figure out how long it would be. Seth Lowry asks, is there a character or design that is hated by most of the community that I love? For me, I love the Bayverse, Devastator, and Shockwave. Oh, I don't know. No, I do know. I've always really liked the RC triplets from Revenge of the Fallen. These, like, motorbike mermaids. Nobody likes those. But whenever I heard that the toys had come into stock in Smith's, and I just live up the road from a Smith's toy shop here in the UK, I was out on a Sunday morning off down to get them. I've always really liked those. It's a quirky. I mean, it's very Revenge of the Fallen, because Revenge of the Fallen threw so much shit at the wall. Your combiners and more combiners, Constructicons, and the twins with the 2-part combiner, and how the RC triplets were gonna be a combiner, but then they weren't a combiner. Little guys like what's his flipping name, Scalpel. Optimus combining with Jetfire, Megatron being reformatted. They threw a lot of stuff at the wall in that movie, and it was a very Revenge of the Fallen-y idea. But I always liked them, like motorbike mermaids. Yeah, so there's one for you. Always like those designs. Yeah. Blast Cronus asks, what about the basics on cancelled toys? It's well, I mean, I do realize I just said I could do one about the Diaclone things that would list them off. But that would just be, I'm not big on the idea of doing videos that are just lists with no narrative or no through line, you know. So something like that's just a list of cancelled toys. And there's so many cancelled toys, you know, things that got prototyped and decoed, but then the release got cancelled, and things that you know, things that were just sketches and abandoned early on. There's too many, you know. You couldn't. It couldn't be comprehensive. No, I don't see it as a concept, you know. Mia Person asks, hey Chris, because you know so much, have you ever worked at Hasbro, or do you just, air quotes, read the wiki? I've never worked at Hasbro. I have done the occasional official piece of work on the brand. I wrote, never for Hasbro, only for licensees, but I did audio commentaries on some of the DVDs that were released here in the UK. I wrote some character profiles for them. I wrote forgetting the name of the thing now. I wrote the Transformers Historia guidebook for IDW, but it's not so much that I read the wiki as that I wrote a lot of the wiki. You know, I'm not really an active wiki contributor anymore, but like I wrote a lot of it. So much as you know, I'll always. You know, it's and I know you've put the just in air quotes there, so you know the deal, but. You know, a lot of people will say, oh, he's just reading out the wiki or whatever. But it's like, no, I mean, I always start with a blank document, and then I write a list of stuff that I know from off the dome that I have stored in here that I know needs to go in this video. And at that point, then I'll go over to the wiki and I'll see, has anything escaped my memory? Is there anything that I just literally didn't know about that I haven't put in here? And, you know, I have to be honest, that doesn't happen very often. You know, there's very, very rarely will I find something, will I go to the wiki and learn something that I simply didn't know existed before, outside of perhaps an obscure piece of trivia, not an incarnation of a character or a major piece of media or an appearance like that or anything. But often it'll be like, I'll say to myself, well, I'm sure this character must have appeared in Beast Wars Uprising from the club. I don't maybe really remember what they did in it, but I'll just do a quick check of the wiki to see what story they were in, if they were in it, and then I'll go and read the story or skim read the story again, and I'll be like, oh yes, I remember this when I read it. You know, that tends to be how it goes rather than anything else. The wiki's an invaluable tool, but it goes like me and the media are my internal storehouse of this nonsense, and then the media itself before relying on anything from the wiki. Like, good example, right? Mindwipe did the Mindwipe video for Halloween last year. And I popped over to the wiki and opened up the animated Mindwipe article because I just wanted to check if he was in anything other than the Allspark Almanac menu page and the last page of the animated timelines issue, and he wasn't. But there was a note at the bottom of the page that said he was designed. This is in my video. I put it in the video. That said he was designed to look like Corla Pandit, an old television presenter, a television character musician from the 50s or something. And I thought, no, well, I've never heard that before. But this isn't cited. And it is in the video, but it's only in the video because I went to the edit history of the article. I saw who added that piece of information. I said, okay, well, I know that guy. I know he's probably trustworthy, but I'm going to shoot him a DM and see where he came by that piece of information and to verify to verify the source of that information. And then I'll maybe put it in the video. You know, I very rarely take anything that the wiki, if I come across anything on the wiki that's news to me, it's, I try to verify it, you know. I've done, there's certainly, you know, certainly there are times in the past that I have been guilty of saying things in basics videos that are based on conventional understanding of media that perhaps hasn't been translated. You know, in the Unicron video, for instance, I say Unicron possesses Beast Wars Galvatron. That's not true. He impersonates him, creates a new body for him, in some videos that I've talked about that since. I've corrected myself, but that Unicron video does have that error in it. Starseekers, I've said in at least 2 videos that I can think of that they were supposed to be in Prime Season 3. That's not true. Turns out they were supposed to be in whatever came after Prime Season 3, whether it was Prime Season 4 or the first season of another show. You know, when I do a Starseekers video, I will clarify that. So yeah, you know, I've definitely, there are times when I have repeated conventional misunderstandings of things in videos because, you know, they just float out there in the infosphere, and I haven't gone to verify them, you know. And it's instances like that made me do things like I just described with Mindwipe, where it's like, well, where's that from? I gotta try and back that up. And this Prime video that's going to be coming out in a couple of weeks, that's definitely one where I'm going to have to really sit down and go back over some old interviews with the crew, because, you know, that we feel like we know what happened in Prime Season 2 when there was a budget cut of some capacity, but we don't really know. Like, nobody's really come out and said anything about it. So I'm going to have to go back and look at some interviews and figure out exactly how to phrase the information to not imply or not say anything that's not confirmed, you know. Anyway, sorry, that was a bit of a ramble about the technical way of doing these things, but yeah, you know, people have to ask about the basics on the basics. But, you know, there's some basics on the basics about how sometimes I approach this. Sometimes I have to do that, and then other times it just flies off the fingers, where it's like, yeah, I know this, and it's what's in the show, and there's, you know, behind the scenes information that's being reiterated by the people involved over and over. But then other times you gotta dig a little deeper, you know. Someone is asking over and over if I've seen Mighty Orbots, and you know, I haven't. I've not watched Mighty Orbots. I've seen little bits of it. Love the animation, obviously, TMS, but I've never actually sat down and watched it, and I was kind of mean to, but I haven't yet. Someone asking there if I could do an episode about Battle Trap. It would be folded into an episode about the Duocons, but that would be. Yeah, Battle Trap, yes, but it would be an episode about him and Flywheels, the Duocons. Would I do the Auto Trooper? Not really enough history there to do one about the Auto Trooper. Do I like the Energon Universe comics about it? Yeah, been chatting about them already in the course of the stream. Really enjoying them. Yeah, okay, we've gone over 2 hours, guys. Definitely got to pull the plug on this one now. I did not mean to stay on this long. So let us do a quick recap here. So coming up next week will be the basics on the Tri-Pricus Council. This one will be available early to Patreon supporters on Monday. Keep an eye out for the early access announcement over in the community tab. Then following that, it will be the basics on Transformers Prime. Really looking forward to this one. I think it's going to be a fun one to write. I hope it can be... I like doing series ones sometimes. You know, sometimes they can be hard work, but this one, I feel like this one's going to be rewarding. I'm looking forward to working on this one. And then 2 weeks after that, we're going to have Matt Frank's Rapticons, which will be an unusual episode, I think. Something a little bit different that I'll have to take a slightly different approach with, but it will, I think it'll be rewarding. Yeah, I'm looking forward to these ones. Really great picks, just like across the board from the Patreon sponsors this time around. Just lovely to get Patreon picks where I can immediately go, yes, great idea, let's do that. You know, no need to think about, oh yes, I can see how I could fold that into an idea I've already had, or that's not really enough to do a full episode about, or, you know, just solid ideas. We can go, yes. That's just 4 great picks. Lovely stuff. And I think with that, we are... Oh, hang on. Did I miss a... Sorry, folks. Looks like I just missed one last... Yeah, sorry. Captain Kuhn asks, I thought Rick Alvarez said that the Starseekers were going to be the plan for Season 3 before the new toy heads said do dragons. No, yeah, that's the... That's like the incorrectly reported version of the story. No, they were going to be after that. Season 3 apparently was going to be Maximals and Predacons originally. Then the new toy guy came in and said, do dragons. And the Starseekers were going to be whatever came after Season 3. It's been misreported, yeah. And I've been guilty of propagating that version of the story in at least the Aligned video and the Cosmos video, I think, were the times that I said that. But yeah, I mean, hopefully they will reveal these last flipping Starseeker figures in time for me to get a Starseekers video penciled in to the schedule for this year, and address that directly. But I'll also be able to talk about it a bit in the Prime video. So Matty Boo asks if I'm going to TF Nation Reading. Not currently planning to, no. But never say never. You never know, but not currently planning to it. Yeah, okay, guys, right. 2 hours, 5 minutes deep. I think we're going to pull the plug on it now. Thank you very much for tuning in. And I hope you look forward to those videos coming up this summer. Those videos will take us right up to the week before, all being well, twice every 2 week schedule. That'll take us right before TF Nation, Birmingham. Should be the week after the Rapticons, where I will be there all 3 days. And if you're coming, please do come along and say hello. And then we will see what September brings, if I can find the time to do anything special to go along with the 40-year anniversary of the premiere of the cartoon. I've got some stuff lined up for TF Nation, a sort of 40th anniversary type event, type panel thing, but I can't say anything about it yet, but hopefully we should have that announced sometime in the next couple of weeks, next month or so. Yeah, that's everything for now. Thanks for continuing to watch. Thanks for tuning in tonight. I hope you enjoy the sponsored videos. stctp.zone for Masonic Podcast. And I will see you guys all the next time I try to do one of these. Maybe I'll try. I mean, as I say, it's been the better part of a year since I last did one of these. Maybe we try and squeeze another one of these in before the end of the year, yeah? Sometime before Obscure Characters Month rolls around at the end of the year. Maybe a post TF Nation cool down stream, yeah? Alright guys, I will catch you on the next one. Bye!